Here's a surprise. On an exam that tests you on analyzing language, you're also going to be expected to analyze images. The main culprit here is the synthesis essay. Remember, that's the essay where you're given a bunch of documents and you have to answer one prompt. So what do we do when we are given an image to interpret? Well, it's time that we put our creative minds to work to understand the image. And believe it or not, we're actually going to look for text that accompanies the image before we even try to digest the image. Look for headers, italicized commentary, footnotes, captions, titles, and the like. Literally, anywhere you see words accompanying the images, read them carefully to help you begin to interpret the images. To help you with this process, you can use the SOAPSTONE method. Even though you are looking at an image, most of these elements will still be present. Speaking of the images themselves, one great point to make here is that you don't have to be an art prodigy to understand how to read the images. All you have to do is react to the image and take note of your own reactions. What do you feel? Does it make you think? Is it intriguing? Is it offensive? Look at the faces and the body language of the subjects in the image. Look over all of the details and assume that the artist was trying to convey one or many messages to you. What could they be? Let's take a look at an example of an image like the kind that you'll see on test day. First, we look at the caption. It says, "The following is a photo of the memorial to the murdered Jews of Europe in Berlin, Germany." It's not a lot of information, but it is very helpful for understanding what we are looking at. Unless we'd seen this before, there's really no way that we can correctly guess what this is a picture of. It's a memorial in the middle of the city of Berlin, Germany. Specifically, it's a memorial to murdered Jews inside the city of Berlin, the capital of the former Nazi regime. You don't really need to know a lot of history to remember that the Nazis are responsible for the deaths of millions of Jews. Reminder, it is important to take note of the artist or publisher if that information is provided. Just like the author of a text impacts the piece, so does the creator of the image. So for this image, there is no information provided about the photographer. Therefore, we assume that it is not significant to our interpretation. Now, we look closely at the photo. In the foreground, or the front of the picture, there are all these giant rectangular blocks. Two people are sitting on them. The woman on the left is reading a book. The man on the right is relaxing, maybe even enjoying the sunshine in a quiet moment. I imagine this to be quiet since you can read and relax and hardly have anyone disturb you. In the background, we can see a bunch of buildings in the city. The rectangular blocks in the foreground parallel the buildings in the background. The blocks are solid and bleak feeling. The memorial is really integrated into the city. The overall feel of the photo is relaxed and calm. But this is a memorial for millions of murdered Jews. Why are people sitting and relaxing on top of it? Doesn't that seem disrespectful? Or is the memorial functioning as a public park, as a benefit to the city overall? You could argue both points of view in your own interpretation. Speaking of memorials, on the 2013 AP English Language exam, the test writers asked a question about memorials, their location, function, and purpose. If they gave you a photograph like this, you would have to think about which part of your observations and analysis you would want to emphasize on your essay. A lot of students try to cram in all of their observations about an image into the one essay, but to really nail this, you need to focus on the points that are relevant to the specific question at hand. If the question is about location and the use of memorials in a public area, then you should comment on the location of the Holocaust Memorial in the city of Berlin and the way that it's being used. In that case, your analysis of the architectural features of the monument would be far less relevant to that discussion. Keep your analysis pertinent to the prompt. Anything else is just unnecessary. As you take practice tests, and maybe even on test day, you will see that photographs or even cartoons appear on the synthesis question. You will also see charts and tables, maps, or any kind of infographics meant to present data. The same strategy will apply here too. First, read all of the supporting material closely. Then, focus on the basic message the chart or table is trying to get across. Use the relevant information and throw away anything that is left over. Let's look at this example. The following graph is an excerpt from a report from the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, that projects federal spending until the year 2024. This graph is overwhelming at first, but we can handle this. We will start with the title and then the supplementary information. It tells us that this information is from a budget report published by the Congressional Budget Office, which is important to note because we can assume that the information is credible and unbiased. The title indicates that it is about the spending of the federal government as percentage of GDP. It says in parentheses that GDP is gross domestic product. Now, that's not a phrase that you hear every day, but let's look at the lines. They show spending on major healthcare programs as the highest percentage, then Social Security, then non-defense discretionary spending, and defense discretionary spending. Finally, it shows net interest at the bottom. Follow the lines. Which ones are going up? Which ones are going down? It seems that discretionary spending categories will probably go down, while the net interest will increase the most. So we could use this data to say all sorts of things about the rise of the net interest spending, or the significance of healthcare and Social Security as the two largest expenditures in terms of percentage of GDP. Even though analyzing images may seem very different from analyzing text, the same rules still apply here. Pay close attention to the author or artist, the audience, and the rhetorical occasion in which the image was produced. With charts and graphs, focus on the most obvious starting point for analyzing the data. Remember, your goal is to get a basic understanding, not to do a complex analysis on the spot.